I heard about so many nice ideal Vaishnavas, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. I had no chance to meet with him, but I met with Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. But something was there, that in my heart gave me very much inspiration when I read and heard the glories of Srila Gurudeva, his articles in the magazines that ISKCON published, his good advice to the ISKCON leaders, and especially his character, ideal character, that he never wanted to canvass for followers or for any position or anything in this world. Rather, he expressed sincerely always in his writings from core of his heart that he wants to help all and to encourage all to follow this process of Krishna Bhakti and give his help to all and his friendship. So that was very much consoling my heart that such personalities are there. I want their association. So that made me very much cultivating in my heart. I should try to meet this great personality, Mahapurush, one day. Perhaps I saw him once in ISKCON where he was glorifying Srila Prabhupada, and I felt very attracted to touch his feet. And then after that, what happened? Anyhow, we were very always convinced that we should spread the mission and distribute Prabhupada's books and help all world. But in my heart I had some doubt that how we can spread this mission if we ourselves have so many questions that are not answered. If we cannot understand how to cultivate our heart especially. Because to go everywhere in the world and to distribute books and to establish centers and to manage and pay the bills and to maintain programs, it is good. But if in our heart something starts not developing, improving, and we have no clear ideal guidance from spiritual leaders, then we cannot help so much. Still, some help, but I wanted to have everything clear in place. So my desire was, anyhow, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna, he should help me. So I would come to India at least twice a year, because I was manager in ISKCON for temple, to buy things for selling in the shop and whatever, have association. And I was always thinking that our leaders are very sincere, they must discover a way how all devotees can benefit. And surely they did, because by their own inspiration they went and they were meeting with great Vaishnavas like Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And then they met with Srila Gurudeva, Srila Bhakti Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I was very amazed how they asked such good questions and how Gurudeva helped them. When I heard these conversations, I became more and more inspired to how this personality is so nice, Vaishnava. If I can meet with him one day, it will be my greatest fortune. And he doesn't accept disciples, so this is very good, because I don't want to be forced in any relationship. Anyhow, by hearing his teachings in 1992, we were here in this place in Sevakunja, in Radha Damodar temple. And one devotee who we knew, who was also quite known in ISKCON communities for trying to do something good for all, to go and to present the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna as they are, not trying to manipulate anything. Very sincere devotee. She told me and Vrinda, we were together. Vrinda, she is not here, but she may come any moment. So that is my wife. She told us, I want that you should meet a real saintly person. I see that you are feeling something. Yeah, we were in Radha Damodar and we were discussing, hearing the glories of Srila Prabhupada. She asked us, I see that you are a little emotional and I want that you should meet someone who is a real saint. She did not mention any name. Yeah. And then she told us, I will bring you to a real saintly devotee, and it is very nearby. Yeah. So then we went with her and we came in Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Math, and on the ground floor Gurudeva was giving darshan there. Yeah. So we went inside his room and we sat down in the back a little bit. But before we entered, we first purchased some garlands. This was our desire to give garland, and we had purchased some very big garland, very nice rose garlands, red roses and white flowers, very big garland, like this. Two we brought, one I would give and one Vrinda would give. I went up to Gurudev and I want to give him garland. Then he said, oh, this is so nice. He said, don't give to me, you give it to Thakurji. Yeah. And Thakurji was just outside the room. Yeah. Then Vrinda wants to give her garland, and then no, you give to Vrinda Devi. She is in the altar also. This is not for me. Yeah. So nice reciprocation. Yeah. Then we sat down and Gurudev started to give some Harikatha. And he looked at us, he said, who are you, where are you from, and do you know why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came? And he started to speak, Anarpita Charim Chirat, Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesh Satanya Tadama Vrindavanam. And we heard these things, but we had never heard them before. Such a nice presentation. Gurudev explained in darshan, and then he asked us, so he said, who are you, and who is she, and what are you doing? So we explained. And we were very, how you call it, hard-working devotees. You know, Vrinda, she's hard-working. I also like to be active. If I know something is proper, then I give my whole energy in that direction, especially when it is necessary. So we were telling Gurudev, we are doing some book distribution. We were providing books in shops in Holland, and we were doing some Namhat programs. Also we were distributing Mahaprasadam, Food for Life. Yeah, this is one of the programs. And we were always trying to help the devotees who were distributing books. They could come to our house, because we had moved outside from the temple. After many years in temple, we could not understand anymore why we should continue, because so many gurus were there and they all wanted to control their followers, and we said, okay. And even they wanted to control us, but we said, we have faith in Prabhupada, but we don't want to be in any other. So we moved outside, but we hosted always devotees. So then we told the Guru that this is what we are doing, and he said, he looked at us with so much compassion, and he said, first, he said, you become perfect. First you become Krishna conscious, he said. Then you help others. Yeah. And I don't know what happened with but it touched my heart so strongly. Although I may have heard these things before, but coming from his lotus lips, they just went like an arrow in my heart. And I felt like, this is a real, transcendental Guru. Yeah. I am so lucky to meet such a person. My life is successful. Yeah. Even if I never meet him again, but this is the rest of my life, I can now continue. Yeah. Now I know that I have to make myself. First I should develop my own and perfect my own Krishna consciousness. And then I can help others. Yeah. So after that, we thanked him, and after a few days we went back to Holland to resume our services, but always remembering how such a nice person we met. Yeah.
I first came to Gurudev 1996, and I had been in ISKCON for some months in 1991, and there I was distributing books, but was not really happy, of course. So for 5 years I looked for a guru, and I was even embarrassed to say that I didn't have one. But then one time I was in Costa Rica. I was in so much Maya, and I was praying and crying, please, I want, take me out of this Maya, take me out of this Maya. And at that time Shamarani Didi came to Costa Rica, and I remember I asked her, please help me get out of this Maya. And immediately, within 1 month, I was at Gurudev's lotus feet. I went to Paris, where I had joined the ashram, and there it was Radhastami. And then they threw a flower from Radharani, and it fell at my feet, and I was like, this is a sign from Radharani. And that day they showed me the picture of Gurudev. One friend of mine, which was really like not so strict following anything, so she was telling me, you have to meet him, you have to meet him, you don't know. And now I can chant Harinam so easily, I can chant my rounds, he's so amazing. And she showed me his photo in her mala, in her bag. So when I saw that photo, I remember there was like light coming out of his forehead, and I was thinking, what is this? Am I going crazy or what? What is this light? So then her husband, Kunja Bihari Prabhu from Brazil, he gave me a letter and said, you should give it to him, you should give it to him, because I was going to India. So when I went to India, the first thing I did was go directly to Keshavari Gaudiya Math. But I had been before in Radhakunda, because after ISKCON I left. I read Rupa Goswami said one should live in Radhakunda, you will attain Prem if you take bath there. Where is that person? Only an unintelligent person would not reside there. So then I went and lived in Radhakunda. There were no Westerns there. They weren't allowed to live there at that time. And I would take bath and bathe in Radhakunda. I didn't take any initiation or anything like that. So when I met Gurudev, I went to Keshavari Gaudiya Math, and he was completely shaved. It was Purnima. So then I'm like, is he Narayana Maharaj? Is he Narayana Maharaj? The doors were open of his room. There was no one in the mat. It was empty. There were no Westerns. There were no people. And he was in his room, sitting in his bed. And when I came and I said, oh, I'm bringing this letter to you, Kunja Bihari. And he's like, very close to me. Kunja Bihari? Kunja Bihari? Who is he? And with his eyes like right next to mine. And then I started crying and crying and crying, and I'm like, what's happening to me? And I started crying. You know, he used to do this. A couple of times he did this, and you start crying like a baby. You don't understand what's happening, but actually what it is, he is like putting bhakti in your heart. And that's why it's all karma, everything's like destroyed. All ignorance goes out. And I cried, and after that, I continued visiting him every day. And you know, I did one whole month of Kartik. Then Kartik came. 1 month after, Kartik Mas came. So we would travel all over Braj Mandala. And I remember I used to have like all these jewels and kajal and super like nice sarees, very colorful sarees. And Gurudev would look at me like, you know, like that earring and that eyeliner. And then he said that like the first time I met him, not that time, but another time when I came back, they were all doing bhajans, and they were singing Gopi Geet, and I started crying and crying. I'm like, why am I crying all the time? I don't understand what's happening with me. And he said, we are all eternal servants of God, but we want to be queens. Every single jewel should be used for the service of Srimati Radhika. So then I didn't understand at that time, but after some years I realized, after he said that, he put this in my heart, and I was thinking, I cannot dress these saris. No, this is too opulent. I can't. And he like changed my mind. That I said, I can't use these saris. I can't use these saris. And I would like my jewels. I took him back to the shop, and then with the money and a camera I had, I actually bought some deities, and he installed them. He called them Radha Vinod Bihari. So then I was going crazy, running all over Vrindavan, buying jewels and things to decorate Radharani, just like he said.
So, as I said, Srila Gurudeva was always engaging everyone in his service. So my most memorable service that I had with Srila Gurudeva was that he engaged me in his service as his cook, which a lot of people already know. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that, because that's, for me, that's the most memorable and the most interesting. I mean, Gurudev engaged me in all types of service and like training and learning in the mat, but in 2006, then Gurudev he asked me, or his sevaks, they asked me. That time I was traveling with another sannyasi, and we were in America, in Baja, and then I was asked, well, just one morning out of the blue, Madhav Maharaj came up to me and said, oh, you know, if you what was it, if you learn Hindi, he said, if you learn how to type in Hindi, you can come and travel with Gurudev. So I was like completely shocked, because nobody had ever, you know, mentioned anything like that before, and it was just, you know, how Madhav Maharaj is just completely sort of surprised out of the blue, and I didn't believe it. So then I kind of went around and I was asking everybody. I went and asked Brajanath Prabhu, and I went and asked Brinda Didi and all different people, and then finally went and asked Srila Gurudev. There was a darshan in his room in Baja, and Gurudev said, yes, if you become qualified and you can learn to cook for me, then you can come on tour. So I was like still completely in shock and elated, but I still didn't completely believe it. And in fact, I don't think I believed it until I actually got on the plane with Gurudev, and I was, and that was probably about 5 or 6 months later. So there was that whole period of thinking, oh, any minute now somebody's going to come and say, or send me an email and say, oh, sorry Prabhu, don't need you anymore. So I was totally prepared for that. But fortunately it never happened. And then when I was actually on the plane going to Hawaii with Gurudev, then I was thinking, oh, okay, well it's actually happening now. And so I was engaged, Gurudev engaged me. He said like Hindi typing to do corrections and cooking, but it turned out that it was mostly cooking. I tried doing some of the Hindi corrections, but I wasn't so good at that really. I was very, very slow. So the Madhav Maharaj needed to have all his time for book publication, because he was doing editing and everything. So then he trained me up to cook for Gurudev. So obviously that was very nice service, and everything had to be absolutely exactly perfect for Srila Gurudev. Every preparation had to be. So Madhav Maharaj sort of trained me up for those few months actually that we were in Hawaii. He was like coming and checking to make sure I was doing it right, and showing me how to do different sabjis and different types of dal and different this and that. And it was all, I'd cooked before a lot, but it was all completely new, and it all had to be completely exact. So but it was a lovely service. I did morning, Srila Gurudev would have like different fruits, and sometimes muri and yogurt, and sometimes we'd cook something as well, like a little sabji or sort of idli and chutney and this and that. So breakfast was there. Then as soon as breakfast was done, we'd be on to midday main meal, which was always Gurudev had like 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 sabjis, like spinach, drumsticks, jackfruit sometimes if it was available. In Hawaii it was always available. Different things that Gurudev liked, like patal, what do you call it? Kundli, Parimal, Shukta, and many things. And obviously Gurudev's diet was a little restricted at that point, because this service for me started in 2006. So already Gurudev was like 86, 85, 86, and he had many different dietary restrictions. So the challenge was to make it as tasty and authentic and just as Gurudev liked it, but also as healthy as possible, to kind of, go working with Gurudev's diet so that he didn't get any sort of, health issues or anything. So that was the kind of challenge, to make it taste, because I think in the mutt, in many years, Gurudev had been used to different cooks, but it wasn't always the most healthy, you could say, but very tasty. So like the shukta had to taste like, it had been, the authentic shukta that you get in Bengal, which might have fried things in it and this and that. So, but anyway, that was the kind of challenge. But also it had to be like, it had to be spot on. It had to be actually perfect. I remember freaking out about that everything you're cooking for Gurudev and every single dish has to be like, supposed to be perfect. And obviously, it never really was. I mean, occasionally you hit it like exactly, but then the next day you'd try and do exactly the same thing, and it would be slightly different. And Madhav Maharaj always seemed to be able to get it like exactly right. But anyway, after a while, Madhav Maharaj just gave me the service and left me to it, basically. And then even after a while, I think maybe after like a year or so, we were in Hawaii, and unfortunately Madhav Maharaj like cut his hand, because what used to happen is Madhav Maharaj would take the plate that I had cooked, take it to Gurudev, we'd put tulsi on the plate, and Srila Gurudeva would offer the plate himself. We would always offer it to Giriraj also, but we'd also put tulsi on Gurudev's plate, and he would offer it there himself. So he'd sort of sit, but Madhav Maharaj would do that whole thing, take the plate to Gurudev. But then when Madhav Maharaj was trying to open a coconut and he cut his hand, then he couldn't do that. So then it became my service. So I remember him saying his misfortune is my my opportunity, kind of thing. So then I was able to do all the cooking, and then make the plate, and then take it directly to Gurudev, and like serve Gurudev in that way, make sure he didn't, he needed anything more of anything, or, whatever he needed extra. Sometimes he'd want some papadam or something like extra. And so yeah, I was able to kind of be there during that whole time when Gurudev was offering and then honouring, and so that was really nice. And Gurudev just used to sit and honor prasad, and he'd have his eyes closed and like completely like meditating on Mahaprasad.
Actually, before coming to Srila Gurudev, I was in ISKCON, and I was pretty much affected by the propaganda that was being made against Srila Gurudev at that time, and so therefore I would not read his books, though I had many friends that encouraged me and tried to push me towards Srila Gurudev. I was so much affected by the propaganda that I refused the books. And then eventually I would receive the books from these friends because they were friends, but I would not read them. And then one day, actually one devotee that's here, his name is Brajanath Prabhu. He was the headmaster of the school in Badger, the Badger school. And he told me one day, he said, Syamasundar, I tell you what, he said, Lord Nityananda is Akhanda Sri Guru Tattva. And before he had mentioned that, I never heard of anything about Akhanda Sri Guru Tattva. But he says that he's a Akhanda Sri Guru Tattva. He says, you pray to him and you pray to Srila Prabhupada to ask them to send you a bona fide guru, because that way I was kind of like in no man's land, so to speak, having rejected my pretty much bogus guru. So I was doing that every day because I had so much affection and so much faith in him. Every day I would go down to the Prabhupada Murti that was there in our temple in Brooklyn, that was in New York at the time, and I would pray to Srila Gurudev, to Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Srila Prabhupada, oh please help me find a bona fide guru. And then somehow for one day something inspired me to open one of the books, and so I just started I opened the book and I just started reading it, and as I was reading this I was thinking to myself, wow, this doesn't sound anything like what they've been saying about him. I was saying, well, this is amazing, this is great. And so that was, for me, I guess, a big turnaround. And so that same devotee, Brajanath, I wrote him a letter, my wife and I actually, and we wanted to meet Srila Gurudeva and hopefully take shelter of him, because I had become convinced that he was a very high-level Vaishnava, Mahabhagavat devotee. So he made the arrangement. He told us to come to Badger. Srila Gurudeva would be in Badger, and before we come, that we should write him. Which we did. We wrote him a letter asking him if he would accept us as his disciples, told him our story, our background story, so to speak. And then when we got there to Badger, Srila Gurudeva was sitting on the bed, and he had just his gumption on. I guess he had just received a massage. And then just seeing him, the first thought that came to my mind, because he was so effulgent. And I had never seen such a personality like that manifested such effulgence. And I just knew right away there was something amazing and great about him. And the first thought that came to my mind was that, wow, this is what it must have been like when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet. So by and by, Srila Gurudeva accepted us. He gave us Harinam and Diksha initiation, to make things proper. And of course, by his grace, we were able to be in his association for 10 years before his unmanifest pastimes.